Be talking on the Brian Crombie Show. We're going to be talking about politics, arts, business, and social issues on the Brian Crombie Show on Canada One TV. Good evening and welcome to the Brian Crombie Show on Canada One TV. I want to introduce you to a lady that's got just an unbelievably interesting story. I've had her on my show before. She is a family mediator and works with families that are going through divorce and separation and deals with mediation and arbitration, and she's a certified media arbitrator, etc. But she's got an incredible backstory of a single mom dealing with a bunch of challenges, and she posted this recently on Facebook. And I read the story, and I was heartbroken. And at the same time, you know, she's been such a huge success. I was heart encouraged because of the struggles that she's gone through, but that she's been resilient and has come through it. And so I wanted to introduce you to her and give her an opportunity to tell you a little bit about her story. So I would like to introduce you to Jennifer Barkin, certified mediator, parental mediator and arbitrator, who's going to tell us a little bit about what she does, but also a little bit about her story. Jennifer, how are you?
Brian, how are you?
Thank you so much for joining me.
Nice to see you.
So let's just start off with what you do. So you're a parental mediator and arbitrator, correct?
I am an accredited family mediator, both with Ontario Association Family Mediation and FIDRO, which is Family Dispute Resolution Institute of Ontario. I'm also a parenting coordinator, certified divorce coach.
What is a parenting coordinator?
When people have a parenting agreement, which people do after they've gone through a divorce if there's children, the parenting agreement states out how they're going to co-parent moving forward when they're no longer a couple together and living in one house as a family. But sometimes people have trouble following that agreement, right? It could be that the agreement wasn't written very clearly. It might say, and the children shall be with the father on Sunday.
Right.
10 o'clock in the morning, noon, what does that mean? So a parenting coordinator, if people are fighting and not getting along and can't agree back and forth, they sometimes will retain the services of a parenting coordinator to help them with that agreement.
Right. And so this is something that one goes to school for and gets a certification for, and you're sort of an alternative to arguing about it in a court, correct?
It's part of the ADR umbrella, which is alternative dispute resolution, just as family mediation is or arbitration is. Generally, you have to be an accredited family mediator before you continue to become a parenting coordinator. And it's also good to have a background. I also have a master's in social work, so a mental health background working with families, working with children.
Now, you know, I think that's very impressive, and I'd love to chat more about that. But you also then told a story on Facebook that I found, as I mentioned, you know, heartbreaking and heartwarming at the same time. Tell us a little bit about your challenges, if you feel comfortable.
Sure. I was very private for a long time, but I finally decided to put my story public, or parts of my story public, because I get a lot of, whether it's email or DM or private messages, saying, you were a single mom. How did you get to where you are?
Right. So you were a stay-at-home mom, and you went back to school with a 9-month-old or a 12-month-old?
I had two. I had the 3-year-old and I had a 1-year-old. So
and what did you go back to school for?
I went to school to become a social worker.
Okay.
And that's another long story that could take a show.
Okay.
Because my plan was never to actually practice solely social work. But my BA was useless to me, so I had to get a Bachelor of Social Work, and then I did the Master of Social Work. So all in all, I did my Bachelor of Social Work part-time. That took me 5 years.
And you did this as a single mom with 2 children, and then you told me that one of them had some issues.
Yes. So after my ex-husband and I broke up, I knew something wasn't right, but I was also a first-time mom, so I didn't know maybe my child's just a little bit wild. Why is she getting thrown out of the nursery school and kicked out of camp? So I
She was
spent
getting thrown out and kicked out of camp because she was
violent behavior,
violent.
oppositional, violent.
How'd you deal with it?
Well, I started out the way you do. You go see the pediatrician. They send you to places like King Stelcrest. I did art therapy, psychologists, different psychiatrists. And it really took a toll on her, on me, on her little sister, because it was so out of control.
Really?
And it couldn't be dealt with. It made it hard for me to go to school. I've never had a babysitter for her.
You've never had a babysitter. How did you
couldn't.
How did you go to school and live and deal with?
I was very lucky. My late mother really did help me a lot.
Okay.
So, but
Sounds
I couldn't.
like she was a saint.
Yeah, yeah. My mom had a background in teaching, so she used to say to me, Jen, there's no bad kids, there's bad behavior, and you have to figure out what's going on with this child.
And what was causing it? Was it a genetic thing, an environmental thing?
Yes, actually. I was actually very lucky. Both of my children were adopted from birth, and I adopted in what's called open adoption before anybody even knew what that was. So I had full health history and kept in contact with my children's birth parents. So I knew that there was a history of mental illness. So certain behaviors, certain things, I had a lot of information for
Right.
doctors
Yep.
to finally get the proper diagnosis, which we got the proper diagnoses when she was 8 years old. And the largest presenting issue that was most difficult was pediatric bipolar disorder.
Oh, really?
And there was ADHD, and she was gifted, and executive functioning issues, and learning disabilities, and on and on and on.
And so
on.
what do you do with that? Is there drugs or are there pharmaceutical products that one can take?
There are. The problem with many of the drugs that were used to stabilize her, but sometimes you have to make decisions, the best decisions, when you don't really have great choices.
Right.
Right. A lot of the drugs for mental health are tested only on adults, so you don't know the long-term effects
Yep.
of what it's going to do to the child's organs and so on and so on. So a large part of the difficulty is we get her stabilized on, what do they call them, black label medications. And she'd be doing quite well, and I'd be told, okay, enough is enough, because we don't know what's going to be. We have to start again, take her off this, wean her off this
Yep.
one. And having a cocktail of medications to keep her stabilized.
Right.
You'd have to remove one at a time,
Oh, really?
because otherwise you don't know what's helping, what's not helping.
Yeah.
So that was very challenging, and made school for me very challenging as well.
And so this, this whole time period, you're getting educated, you're starting your career, you're a single mom, your mom's helping you out, thankfully, but you're like, how did you survive?
It wasn't easy, and sometimes I'd say, I can't, I just can't do this anymore. But I had this little thing in me of, which I haven't spoken about, but the marriage that I was in was emotionally abusive. It wasn't physically abusive. It was emotionally abusive, so I was pretty broken. And one thing that school did was I found it very empowering, because all of a sudden I was smart.
Oh, really?
And I did very well.
So that gave you confidence.
Exactly, like in my master's, and I won awards and scholarships. So that gave me a little bit of a boost. And one thing that kept me was I had these two little girls, and I wanted to show them that life doesn't go as you plan all the time, but you need to be resilient. So that would push me. That doesn't mean I didn't have my days.
I can imagine. How's your daughter now? How are both your daughters now?
So my little one, she's in London studying, she's having fun, doing well, I hope. And
London, Ontario, or London, England?
London, Ontario.
Okay.
She's Western. And my older one, which is the child that has special needs, she's doing much, much better. She's not where she needs to be academically right now, but that's her choice and my choice in a way. Because of all the difficulties, be it social, medical, etc., there were long periods of time where she wasn't in school,
Yep.
or she'd be in a depressive phase. So if she would write a test, it wouldn't be realistic of what she could achieve. So I fought this system for a long time and said, I'm not kicking her out of the house. So I do not care how long this takes. She can live with me. What's important to me is that she becomes whatever she wants to be because she's so smart, because
Right.
she's so talented. No different than if you have a disability. You never tell somebody that has a broken leg to run a race. So I say, I really don't care what the usual protocol is, however long it takes to get her to where she needs to be, and so that she leads a life that's
Does
good for her.
does someone like your daughter know what's wrong with them? Or-
Absolutely. She actually wants to be a child psychiatrist.
Really?
She'll probably get there.
What an incredible story.
Thank you.
I want to come back after the break and ask you what lessons you've learned and what suggestions you've got for everyone else, okay?
Absolutely.
Excellent. What a story. We're chatting tonight with Jennifer Barkin, who is a family mediator and helps couples, families through divorces and separations. But she shared with us a pretty compelling story about her own challenges in her own family and her own divorce, and how she got through it, which is encouraging to all of us because, as she said, not everyone's life is perfect. In fact, everyone's life has some challenges, and so if we can learn from other people how to survive, how to be resilient, how to pick ourselves up and fight for another day, that's great. We're going to take a break and come back more with Jennifer in just a minute on the Brian Crombie Show on Canada One TV. Thanks. Stay with us.
कोविड-19 का हल सिर्फ आपके पास है। घर पर रहें और अगर आपको बुखार या दूसरी अलामत है तो दूसरों से दूर रहें। बाहर के अफराद से 2 मीटर का फासला रखें, चाहे वो खानदान के हों या करीबी दोस्त। ऑफिस और पब्लिक प्लेसेस पर मास्क पहने, वक्फे से हाथ धोएं, ऑनलाइन सेल्फ असेसमेंट करें और जरूरत पड़ने पर टेस्ट करवाएं। फैलाव की रोकथाम के लिए हमारा फर्ज अभी मुकम्मल नहीं हुआ। हम एक दूसरे के ताउन से सबकी हिफाजत यकीनी बना सकते हैं। मजीद जानने के लिए ontario.ca/coronavirus पर विजिट कीजिए।
GTA Real Estate Investments. Pre-construction or resale. Consult trusted realtors. Get first access and incentives. Contact Khalid Aziz or Mashood Khalid, 647-865-2949.
Was your family or business prepared for this financial crisis? Want to learn how I prepare my clients with the essential financial planning pyramid for any financial crisis come their way? Hello, this is Zahid Sayed from Roach Financial. For your complimentary Zoom or Skype meeting, call my office at 905-624-0008 or visit aroojfinancial.com.
Here's to the people, pioneers searching for better, ambitious fortune seekers in strange new places. They're the inspiration behind Zoom, the fast and secure money transfer app from PayPal.
Life is precious, and health is the greatest gift. The best investment you can ever make is in your own health and life. Take steps now for your health and life concerns, which includes drug and dental insurance, travel insurance, critical illness, disability income insurance, and super visa insurance. We also provide life insurance, RESP, RRSP, and segregated funds.
To make the informed decision, contact Babar Chughtai, your health benefit advisor at 416-816-9210. It's 416-816-9210.
Buying or selling a residential or commercial property is one of the biggest financial decisions most people will make in their life. The real estate lawyers at Alam Law Chambers will guide you through the complete real estate laws to ensure your transaction completes on time and your dreams come true. Reliable and affordable. Alam Law.
Hi, I'm Brian Crombie, and we're going to be talking on the Brian Crombie Show. We're going to be talking about politics, arts, business, and social issues on The Brian Crombie Show on Canada One TV. Welcome back to the Brian Crombie Show on Canada One TV. We're chatting tonight with Jennifer Barkin, who is a parental coordinator and a professional mediator. She's got a certificate, a master's in social work, a bachelor's in social work, a bachelor's in something else. I can't remember what you said now. Psychology, I think you said. Sociology. But more importantly, she's told us her story of her challenges through a tough divorce, being a single mom, raising two young girls, and one of them that had a lot of challenges and how she dealt with that. And Jennifer, you were telling us about going back to school, being a single mom, your mom helping us out. Was it a challenge getting employed again?
It really was, because what we haven't spoken about was my daughter's challenges. She had a psychiatrist sometimes twice a week. She had a psychologist once a week. I had speech language pathologist, her tutors. I had a team, right? So basically I was a bus, and I had a safety plan in my house so that she wouldn't hurt her sister at certain times. So I was a stay-at-home mom for 20 years. 20 years? 23 years.
Yep.
23 years. Then in 2017, so just a couple of years ago, I thought, okay, she's more independent now. The violence is gone. I can leave her. It's time for me, and I'm going to go get a job. Except I'm 53 years old.
Oh, really?
And it was interesting to me because you always read about ageism and, how hard it is to find work when you're older.
Yep.
I never thought of myself as old, chronologically. I thought I still have a few good years. But more importantly, I really thought that my life experience, especially in my social work field, would count for something. Yeah. And it didn't.
It didn't.
It did not. So basically, well, you don't have any agency experience. And I'd say, well, how am I supposed to have agency experience when I basically live social work every day of my life?
Yep.
But it didn't matter. So I knew I have to do something. Can't let my children see me fail. And really thinking hard of what I liked and where my interests lay. When I was in my master's, I did my internship back then in family mediation. And I wrote a bunch of papers on actually family mediation for adoption. So I thought I'd pursue, what's mediation about? What do you need to become a mediator?
So you created your own business?
No, I had to go back to school again.
Again?
So I went back to school and I thought, if I'm missing all of these years, I'm still going to be really good and be very well trained. So I got all my stuff for mediation, my certificate. I did an internship for accreditation. You needed 100 hours of hands-on experience. I did my parenting coordination at the advanced level. I did my arbitration training. I did my certified divorce coach training. Just kept going back and bettering.
I've read your resume, and you've got more initials after your name than letters in your name.
Yes. I think I've done for a while. But all of these things help me in my practice.
You've got all the designations that one needs and all the training one needs.
And I left out the Certified Divorce Financial Analyst, which is very helpful because when I'm mediating financials, a lot of mediators don't know anything about money.
Right.
Not only do I help when people have ideas, I can write on a whiteboard. So what does a settlement like this look like? And what if we put this on the other side? What does this look like? And it just helps people visually see what things are going to look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now.
So Jennifer, I think when you posted recently your personal story, so many people were shocked because you present as such a put together, successful person.
Thank you.
And well, it's the truth. And I think people, at least my sense of it, based on reading a bunch of the comments, were that people were taken aback and shocked that you had gone through all these challenges. And so I guess the reason why I wanted to talk to you, I wanted to hear your story, and give you an opportunity to tell people about what you do so that, you know, if they need to hire you, that they can. But more importantly, I wanted you to inspire people and tell them that, that they can pick themselves up, because you've done it. So what are your lessons learned? How did you do that? What were the keys? It sounds like your mom was critically important.
Absolutely.
What were the keys for you in success in getting through your challenges?
The first thing is, don't label yourself as to anything, right? Start thinking, well, why shouldn't this happen for me? Don't expect anything to be easy. Don't be discouraged by your mistakes, because we learn from mistakes.
Right.
And certain things I would do differently, but I learn. I learn. Go out of your comfort zone. That's really important.
And so, you know, out of your comfort zone, you were going back to school, you were doing all these things at the same time as you were a caregiver for
Yes.
for 2 young girls, including one that had some fairly significant mental health issues.
Yeah. Also, it's important to don't rush it. Like,
Take your time, be patient with yourself.
but one thing I always say when people say something takes a long time, or that's going to take 5 years, I'll say, "Do you plan on being alive in 5 years?" Usually they say, yeah. I go, okay. So either you can have your life like it is today and 5 years from now and nothing's changed, or you can do the work and maybe be in a better place.
Well, and for a lot of people, going back to some education, whether it be schooling and or certifications at 53,
Yeah.
would have been something they wouldn't have done. They would have thought, I'm over the hill at 53. So for you, and I'm reminded of the, you know, Colonel Sanders didn't start his company until he was, what, 75 or 80 or something like that. Oprah didn't get her big start until she was sometime in her 40s or 50s. So you didn't let your chronological age define you.
No, no. I sort of looked at it that, okay, so, I don't know, let's say you'll live to be 100. So the first chapter, well, that's done, you know, and you can't sit in the past and go with your regrets and all the mistakes. They make you who you are, mold you to who you are. But I still have that next half. So it's up to me to make it better. Nobody's going to do it for me.
Were there people other than your mom in your life, or books or motivations or anything like that that were helpful to you?
My mom was my biggest influence.
Yeah.
I mean, from the time I was a little kid, if I'd say, I want to be a nurse, she'd say, no, you're going to be a doctor, right? And I'd be very hard on myself, and especially coming out of that abusive situation. Obviously, my family...
In your marriage?
Yeah. My family was very supportive. I have a really tight, good group of friends that support me, that at the same time, when I want to do crazy stuff that makes no sense to them, will call me out on it.
Yeah.
Right? But people whose opinions that I respect. And I think that's important, to have those people that believe in you when you don't believe in yourself. And as you start achieving
but it sounds like you must have believed in yourself. Did you go through this evolution of not believing in yourself, and then somehow you started believing in yourself?
At the beginning, I didn't believe in myself at all. I thought, what am I doing? I don't even know how to type.
So what changed it? How did it change?
I think getting that first good mark, or getting that first, that's an interesting perspective, or that's a good point from my peers or
Right.
from my professors, was very eye-opening. That, no, I actually have a brain that works.
So if someone came to you, a single mom, with a child that had developmental problems, mental health issues, and you know, wanted to give up, what would you tell her?
Well, firstly, I would say, you know, I know this is hard, and I might share certain things, and I might give some positive stories of other stories that I know, and figure out how to make this easier. Not that it's going to be easy, but do you need respite care? Do you need a break? Is there anybody that, you know, that can even look after this child so that you can go and recharge with a friend?
Yeah.
That's helpful, because it's very, very isolating.
Did your ex-husband, you know, help out? Did you share custody? Did he lighten the load?
He had the children 2 days a week, but as far as lightening the load, all decisions were mine. So if I had to, she needs a tutor, I have to find the tutor. I need a psychiatrist, I have to find the psychiatrist, and I need a therapist. So the parenting part
was all up to you.
Was for me to do.
Where do you think you find resilience? Where does it come from?
Experience. And other people that are role models for you.
So roll back to your teenage years. You had a role model in your mom, I guess is what you're saying. Did she go through a tough time that
she really did?
Taught her resilience?
Absolutely.
And thereby taught you resilience?
My mom was raised without a mother because her mother got sick with cancer when she was 11 and died when she was 16. My grandfather was quite a playboy, and my mom had a younger sister that she basically raised. So I'd hear stories all the time of, my life wasn't easy.
Right. And you heard that when you were growing up?
From the time I was little.
Right. And that ended up being something that you could emulate when you had a challenge. But you said you didn't emulate it right away. And so for a while you were a stay-at-home mom, and the marriage wasn't great, but I guess he took care of you?
Not really. I mean, not really.
So
I can't say that.
When you're thinking about the lesson learned then, and I apologize for getting too personal if I did, but when you think about the lesson learned, what is it? Look within yourself, I guess. Try to find inspiration from someone, and you were lucky that your mom was that big #1 inspiration and a lessons in resilience, and then also that you could emulate that later on. What else?
Know that your circumstances today don't have to be your lifelong circumstances.
Yep.
So I know it sounds really cliche and corny, but not to give up. And it's important to have a plan. It's important to understand that nothing comes easy. You're going to have to work for it. But if you want something bad enough, you can do it.
It does sound corny, but I love that movie, The Knight's Table. I'm not sure if you ever saw it. And the tailor is blind and has a young son, and he says, "You can change your stars." And at the end of the movie, he has changed the stars, and he repeats to the audience, "Yes, you can change your stars." And I love that. So I think you can change your outcomes, and you just have to decide that you can do it. And you've obviously decided you could do it, and congratulations, and thank you so much for sharing your story with us, because I'm convinced that there's some people out there that will listen to your story and be inspired by it. So thank you.
I hope so. Thank you, Brian. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. If people want to access your mediation services, how do they find you?
So I have a website, and it's www.torontofamilymediation.ca, and all my contact information is on there. On Facebook, I have a business page, Family Matters, Mediators and Counselors. That's actually my company name. And I'm also under Toronto Family Mediation on Instagram.
Well, if anyone's out there needing some services, hopefully they'll access you. And thank you so much for sharing your story with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Well, that's the Brian Crombie Show on Canada One TV for tonight. What a story. And, if I could leave you with one thought, and I obviously wanted Jennifer Barkin to come on and share her story with us, it's that you can change your stars. You can change your future. She did it, and she did it at 53 plus after a pretty challenging situation prior to that. And so if she can do it, we can all do it. And so don't give up. Thank you for joining us tonight on the Brian Crombie Show, Canada One TV. Good night.